So, Owen, I have to tell you, well, I should do a little intro first. Welcome everybody to the Real Santa Fe podcast. I get to interview a guest who has been on this show before when it was I Love New Mexico, but now I get to do it. I hope as a friend because Owen and I have now met each other several times, and he actually interviewed me. Owen, I'm excited to have you.
Well, it's great to actually interview with someone I interviewed when I didn't know, someone before I actually interviewed, and now after the fact. So hopefully we'll have even additional clarity and insight now that we've gotten to know each other a little better.
Well, and I'm just going to be really, I'm going to be clear. First of all, to our listeners, Owen Lipstein is the publisher, editor. I don't know of Santa
Founder,
Fe
editor,
Magazine. What's your
publisher,
correct title, Owen?
founder, publisher, editor, and general annoying person on the magazine.
I so I'm just going to be really transparent here. It was easier to, sometimes when we do these interviews, I'm operating because I'm running a business and doing everything else I do. I'm kind of operating by the seat of my pants. So this time I really took a deep dive into who Owen Lipstein is. And afterwards I was like, wow, I'm intimidated. What are the things you haven't done yet? Who are the people you haven't interviewed? When I found out that I was interviewed by and now interviewing somebody who also interviewed people like Liz Gilbert and Cyndi Lauper. I mean, everybody in the world. Annie Leibovitz. What haven't you done, Owen?
Oh, many things, many things.
Not all the fun stuff yet.
Yeah, no, I actually always have fun, but not everyone.
Well, I mean, I can do a long list of your credentials. It's
Oh,
not
please do the
boring.
long
It's
list of credentials. I want to hear them. I can't.
okay. So um, in addition to publishing everything from Mother Earth News to Psychology Today to American Health to Inside Out, Spy Magazine. If I get any of this wrong, let me know. I know there's a long list. You also created Shakespeare on the Hudson. So here's what happened. I'm talking to our great friend Tanya Katan, who I love, and I said, Owen came and interviewed me the other day, and I'm going to interview him next week. And she said, Bunny, he is a BFD. And I said, uh, I know. And she said, no. You have no clue. So, so
I,
I, so,
all I
so
can
I had to
say
go take a look.
is there's a few things I fear, but one of them is having an assessment from her. So I'm glad she said that. And what is what she said? What is a BFB? Is
Well,
that
I can't say it's,
okay? Then
well,
it will just remain
it's a
unknown.
big effing deal.
Yeah, I have. Oh, all right. So I have no idea. But at any rate, it's great. It's great what you say. I always like to be reminded of things I've done because it's easy to forget. And I'm so focused on the present that these things seem like mild memories in the past.
Right. Well, so Owen Lipstein, who won a National Magazine Award, maybe more than one, is our guest today. And the reason he's our guest is not just that he is the publisher of Santa Fe Magazine, but because I get this impression not just from knowing you and hearing you, but from reading the magazine that you really find Santa Fe to be a fascinating and rich and interesting place to live.
Well, that is correct. Um, I came here, I don't know, I guess 9 years ago, with my wife, Maggie Fine. I actually like to describe myself as the man who accompanied Maggie Fine back to her hometown. But when I got here, I was happily and uniquely unemployed, and I wandered around meeting any number of people and coming back with such radical enthusiasm, almost euphoric, that I was laughingly called Blue Sky Owen. And it was not a compliment. It was like this guy is enthusiastic about every single thing he sees. He sounds ridiculous, defying convention and family reaction. I started a magazine with John Miller uh, to sort of talk to the people who live here. And in the process, I hoped I would be able to tell a story of the city and in some sense narrate it and when appropriate, try to make some sense of it. And so I've lived in many places but I feel like I've come home, even though I'm native to New York and Manhattan in the Hudson Valley. I feel like this is the first time, as Odysseus would say, I've come to dry land after all those times away. I find the city endlessly interesting, endlessly surprising, and strangely important in relationship to what it, not even, it's always been that way, but especially now in this time of turmoil, arguably some darkness. I think that the city can be both a city of light, it already is, and a place to uh, be protected in some sense. I think at different times and different places, there have been cities. Of course, we were all thinking of Athens that end up having intersections of culture, art, politics, law, power, thinking, craft, and I think Santa Fe has always been that. But I think it will be perhaps more like that now, just given all the things that are happening outside. So I'm enthralled and delighted to live in the city and
I
do the
remember when
honest
we,
I can do. What?
well, I just remember when we talked the first time in my first interview was, which I think was in January of 2024. You said that some of this is what I remember. You said that you would walk to the coffee shop in the morning, maybe every morning, and sit down and it seemed without fail that you met somebody, talked to somebody. It was sort of uh, you're so endlessly curious and friendly, which I like to think of myself in the same way, but you take it to a new level. Am I remembering correctly? Is that sort of where this passion for the Santa Fe magazine came from?
Yeah, I would get all these new best friends, and people would always, I mean, they always ask me who my favorite interview was, and it inarguably and inevitably is, oh, my last interview. Um, I, uh, I, I just find the diversity and the uniqueness and the sort of combined. I just find the people very interesting, and it is a considered judgment and a spontaneous judgment, and I feel that way almost more than I did from the moment I arrived and had those, shall we say, very enthusiastic conversations with just about everybody I would run into. There's something about
So,
this place that is
so
quite,
now I go
what?
ahead.
No, there's something about this place that people often have trouble describing. I often ask at the end of the interviews, what's so special? And everybody has something to say, but they tend to say, I don't know at the end. I don't know what it is. It's ineffable. I don't know either. It's ineffable. I can't figure it out, but it doesn't matter.
And this was Maggie's hometown.
Yes.
Did you have a different notion of what it was like before you arrived? Did you think you were coming like to a smaller Aspen or what? I'm curious.
Well, let's just say, when we got married and Maggie said, I want to have our baby on the ley line of Santa Fe, um, uh, and we want to move, I want to move there. There wasn't a lot of choice. It seemed like a prudent idea to say yes. And of course I did. Did I know what I was, I would have gone to Akron, Ohio with respect to Akron. So to some extent, it was my usual dumb luck that the hometown of my wife turned out to be the place I've always wanted to go. But I think I had all the poster card, cartoon versions of Santa Fe that had to do with, a variety of stones, cowboys, native events, land, and general spirituality. But it seemed like a lot of fun. A little bit better than that, but not much more informed. I always knew it was a cool place, and I used to ski, so I used to be around in the area frequently in my vulnerable youth. But to say I had any deeper understanding would not be true. It's always good to come to a place with an open book and unwavering curiosity and willingness to be surprised. And I had all those things.
I think it's also pretty, I mean, I'm married to somebody who grew up here too. I think there's a little bit of there's it's pretty cool to get to experience a place like this when it's your spouse's hometown.
Well,
That's
yeah, I
interesting.
think I had to. I mean, I may well be an asshole, but I would have had to be a real big one to be thrown out, given the fact that I was Maggie Fine's husband, and the fact that and the fact that we had our kid here was a leg up. So there's lots of ways not to get to know the city, but I definitely had, shall we say, an arguable, immense advantage, and I'm proud to have had it and delighted to have had it. But it's a voyage.
So we have to assume that there are people listening who have never seen or heard of Santa Fe magazine. What I'd like to hear your description.
Well, I mean I mean it 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 at heart it uses um, the process of an interview to get to know a person. I work with the premise that, and I should say this, we're not interested in news. We're not interested in ranking. We're not trying to get, we're not trying to get the best of or the worst of, the most annoying. We're not trying to rank. The sole criteria for whether someone appears in the magazine is if they are interesting, whether they have curiosity, whether they're doing something new, and that ends up being what I do. As I said, it's not hard for me to find interesting people. So there's a wide variety of people we talk to. We of course have some we talk to the mighty and the famous. We talk to people you've never heard of. We talk to artists. We talk to I mean healers. We talk to guitar players. We talk to photographers. We talk to uh, builders. We talk to entrepreneurs. We talk to drivers. We talk to carpenters. And the what's interesting, and we don't judge what they do. What they do informs who they are as people. We didn't care that we were talking. I mean, of course, we're going to talk to the governor, Michelle, but I was interested in what made her almost the before she was governor, before all that. What were the things that influenced her? Because of course we know what these people do now, but how did they get there? How did Zahn of Dark Winds become the actor he is? What were the influences? What was he before we've heard of him? And then there are, of course, the people who you've never heard of who actually have a story. Sometimes you can help them with their narrative. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes the things that they think are important may not be as interesting to other people. But what's important is that they have a story, and it's not hard to find people like that. And so, um, anyway, people ask me if I ever run out of people to talk to, and I say, when that happens, I should be fired. I should be taken to the back of the barn and shot. If I find a poverty of people to talk to, it is my fault and not the fault of the city. I expect to be fired if that ever happens. I don't know who will fire me, but someone should.
I imagine that happening, but so I went back and looked at the interview that you and John Miller, who is also amazing, that you did after a year, and you said, here's the thing about the stories. The more you get to know someone, the more you realize how much in common you have with them. It's the namaste thing, like saying, hey, I recognize that light in you. And you've done that really well for your readers as well. I mean, the more I read the interviews, the more I think, wow, I have a lot in common with these people. We're all just, I mean, we all have the same, like, we all have the same curiosity. I think Zon and I could be best friends. I don't know. Like,
Why don't you call him up and just ask him?
I think I will. The director, Chris Eyre, lives next door to me. So he's sure to show up at some point, right?
Yes. I mean, look, we all live in this world, regardless of who we are. We tend to live in a vertical life. We talk to the people we work with, we hang out with our family, our direct friends. But there's what I believe. I believe what we're starting to do is help connect this community, take diverse people who don't have a normal way to talk to each other or get to know each other or see each other as they are and put them together. And when you do that, if you're being honest in your recording and honest in your questions, and especially honest in your listening, and listening is a principle. Curiosity and listening are the principal tools that I think you need here. If you put all those pieces together, you see an immense commonality, and something that's inarguable because we're all the people that I talk to at any rate are are following something that's important to them, and they have the trials and tribulations and the history and the stuff that made them and the stuff that they're becoming and the stuff that they aspire to. And whatever you do, as long as it is something that you care about and something that has some value outside yourself, there's immense commonality. And of course, the one of the if we have equity in this magazine, and obviously this brazen publisher thinks we do, is that people have come to trust us. So the filter that we appropriately have sometimes when we begin to tell our story, I think to some extent, um, um, people let that go because they have seen, observed, and felt, I think, that we have the authority and the track record of being good listeners, uh, and are curious and open to the otherness, the newness of everybody. I learned a lot when I talked to you. Of course, I knew your bio, and of course, I know what you've written, and I've met you informally. But I came away with the interview quite shocked, not in a good way. With respect to you, with respect to the magazine, I frequently have that. Oh my God, I didn't know that, and I always learn something. So there you go. I get a little bit smarter, and I have a pretty low bar, in my opinion, after each interview.
Well, I found the same thing. Sometimes I would go into a podcast because I've now been podcasting since like 2021, um, different topics, but I found the same thing when I was podcasting. In fact, sometimes Johanna would schedule people and I'd be like, oh, what? This is, it's, it's, it felt a little bit of like a slog. And the moment I took a second and started listening, I thought, what? I mean, I, I don't want to boil this down, but it does seem like one of the most important things we can do is listen to one another and build a community around that. Um, that'd solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it?
And yes, but a caveat here, and those people will go unnamed, but what you ask is honesty. What you ask for is the truth as they see it. What you ask is as much uncensored facts and experiences and feelings in people's lives. Some people don't do that. And if you listen, you can say, well, okay, yeah, that's your biography. Um, Talk to me. And I've had experiences where they won't or don't, or I feel there's falsity or propaganda or some promotion or some version of this is my press release, this is what I want. And I just don't run the interviews. So sometimes I'm all excited about meeting someone. It's not like I have the right to judge people, but I guess I do in terms of the magazine. But if I think I'm not getting honesty, um, uh, we don't run it. And because people pick up on that. People pick up on bullshit. Well, whether I wish more politicians would understand that. Um, but bullshit is actually, it not only is it obvious if you listen, I think it's arguably contagious. And so you try to stay away from that. So I just wanted to say that there are that not all interviews are created equally, and some just don't work, and just have to call it as such.
Wow, so bullshit is contagious. I,
You
the
just don't
truth,
hear it.
that's the truth.
Yeah, you don't want to be around it. It it uh, it changes the whole transaction you have. If you think you're getting from the heart insight and feeling, you can listen very well. But if you encounter falsity, um, instead of listening, you're judging. And when you start judging, you're not listening. At any rate, it sounds all complicated and maybe completely ridiculous, but that's my take on it at the moment.
No, I don't think it's actually pretty simple, right?
Yeah,
It's,
it is simple.
yeah. So, um, we should talk about one of your favorite things to talk about because you were relentless about it when you interviewed me, which I like, which is the community building piece of what Maggie's and her group are doing on Canyon Road. Can you tell people about that? Because I mean, we do this podcast so that somebody who's never been here is going to think, wow, I should go there because what they're doing is so um I can't miss it. And I think that's a thing you can't miss.
No, you can't miss. So, one full disclosure, I'm in love with my wife. And so and my wife is Maggie Fine of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So to the extent I seem at all uh, positive beyond reason, it isn't really. But I have made the disclosure. Maggie titled magazine is called Roving Editor, and she was doing a piece on Canyon Road. And we were at the Elf Roll, I guess, and she had the genuine insight and feeling that the Canyon Road of her youth was a little bit better, a lot less lot more populated, lot more free than the Canyon Road, at least she was reporting on at that moment. So she had the idea of starting something called Canyon Road Walks, which is a Wednesday night, every other Wednesday in the summer, or actually monthly on the summer, and sometimes more frequently than that, um, a walk that has become a kind of pilgrimage. Stores are open, traffic is closed down. There are places to eat, places to see. There's a play that's going on this July, which is kind of a cabaret, but it's a combat. It's like and you're walking down the street and back, it's where people not only are meeting unique people from all over, but they have actually something to say to each other, not only because the street is not just about one thing, it's about a whole lot of things. And I feel like I feel like having live interaction in some sense is as if the people in the magazine were meeting each other and encountering each other, and you're seeing friends from former lives or past life, not past life, but somebody you knew when, or somebody you just met, or someone you want to meet, or someone you actually meet by accident or by meditation. You meet them on the street and you have so many activities. The whole set of all those things, if you go there, is something I might call life. Life. There's intense life that happens on those streets and those events. Um, if a man had, I'd say this, it started last year. If a group of guys, if a man had started and he assembled a whole group of guys, they probably would have not even managed to do an event last year. But Maggie and basically a bunch of young moms, now she has other staff, just decided they were going to do it instead of fighting with each other or fighting over role or hierarchy or whatever dumb shit men are quite capable of doing. These women just went out and did it. And before our eyes, it became an event. And there you go. And she has, I should say this at the end. It was a good idea, like most good ideas, you want to see if it tests. We were stunned and shocked and bewildered and pleased that so many people came. And I think it's the same thing that's motivating the magazine, which is people want to meet, they want to interact, they want to be, they want to go into places they have not been and learn. They want to do something that's vital. And I think we have all those things, plus a lot of fun. If you're not having fun when you have the events, if you're not having fun when you do a magazine like that, that's another reason why you should be taken to the back of the barn. But Maggie's next event is in July 4th. I think that's our 5th. I think that's the right date. Um, and everyone should go. You'd be surprised at how much fun it is.
So it's not on a Wednesday night in
Yeah,
July.
it's on a Wednesday night. Is it?
Okay, so that's the second. That's July 2nd. I
Yeah, I'm
just
gonna
turned
get
around and looked at the calendar here.
okay. I'm gonna get killed if
That's okay.
yeah,
Listen, we'll correct it. I mean,
yeah,
we'll in the notes and we'll let everybody know. And Johanna and I now are, doing a video like maybe once a week. We just get it, we get out in front of the office and the tree, the little table under the tree, and we just start talking about stuff that's going on. And so we talked about it last time. And then we had this crazy rain.
yeah. That happened in the first walk, and how often is it that there's 2 hours in the month of June where it rains nonstop? So all I
That
can
was
say
it.
is shit does happen, and all these extraordinary plans this group had made were literally rained on. And in spite of that, a lot of people showed up. And in spite of that, the diversity and excitement of the place was sort of manifest. But You'd have to work to find 2 hours in June where it rains. It doesn't rain before and doesn't rain afterwards, but there you go.
Right. It's really, I suspect that people who are listening will think, well, Canyon Road, that's those, stuffy art hangout, but this is a this is a boisterous, fun, family friendly event. Um, in fact, when we had the young woman who runs Santa Fe Fam, and I apologize for not knowing her name off the top of my head, but when we talked to her, I'm sorry, Megan,
Yeah, that's right.
she said, I'm so excited about the Canyon Road walks this year. I can't stand it. She's got babies. She takes her bitty babies.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of an assault on, assault's the wrong word, but a challenge to the banalities, the cliches, the sagging belief that Canyon Road is all those things. And when you challenge them and actually show those cliches are worth nothing when you actually are out there. And this thing um, uh, forces people to go there, forces people, gives people the opportunity to go there. And when they do, they can throw all their past thoughts, false beliefs, cliches, and old ideas of what Canyon Road is, at least the negative part, away. And that's the inarguable accomplishment of what they're doing. And this summer is going to be awesome. Assuming
I
no
can't,
real acts of nature.
I can't wait to go to the one in July. And is there something I know I always have these outlines that I forget to follow for my podcast because I get so interested in the person I'm speaking to, especially you. But is there what's up? What's next? I mean, Santa Fe Magazine will come out in August, but what's next for Owen?
Well, we've been planning next summer, and I think it will be in June, something called the Santa Fe Magazine Festival. And we will be 5 years old. 5 years is very young for an adult. Um, and it's pretty old for a dog, but it's a goddamn miracle for a magazine, uh, especially those that are in an industry that is known mainly for the extinction events. And so I think it's taken 5 years to feel confident enough about our brand and to get our voice together so that we feel we're able to have a festival and the festival would be an interaction of the people that we've interviewed across all subjects. So and to have music and visuals and movies and an opportunity not for our readers and our interviewees to not only meet each other, but meet each other's the other people that are in the magazine. In effect, it's a magazine live. And some of the sessions are intended to be substantial. Some of them are intended to be funny. We don't have to mimic exactly, duplicate the magazine, but the heart of the magazine, the voice of the magazine will be in evidence and it will be live. And so we're just putting it together. We're inspired by some of the success of some of the festivals that have come here, and notably the Literary Festival. We're also inspired by what the New Yorker Festival does and what the Atlantic Monthly is. But at heart, we want it to be fun. We want it to be vital. We want it to be like nothing that has quite happened before, at least from a magazine franchise. And that's what I'm putting my energy into these days because I want to make it as good as we can.
Wow.
3 day event, um, and um, I'm really stoked.
I think that's a great place for Zon and I to finally figure out that we could be friends.
Yeah, this is really, it's all really about, I thought about this very carefully, and I want this to be a setting for you and Zan to meet. And in many ways, that's why I'm doing this, Bunny, for you.
I'm so happy, Owen. This is so much
I
fun.
just waited this time to tell you all the other stuff I said is wrong. It's really about Bunny getting out there, all their.
So everything else is superfluous. And I know that Zahn, when he reads my interview, he's going to say, I think we could be great friends.
I have
So
confidence in that.
I know. I know. So I want folks to know that hopefully if my interview makes the cut, I might be in the August edition, in the
Yeah,
August.
you're in the current issue, so we'll just
Okay.
you'll have the current, and be able to show them, and like you look great and you say good things, and this could be the beginning of a long relationship and a big career move.
For him, knowing me, I
Yeah, for
suspect.
him, for him.
Can I want to throw in the fact that not only do you publish magazines and entertain the masses, you also take amazing photos, I hope, because you took a lot of me that day. So
I'll just one note about this that I've been in the magazines business for a while, and I've been to a number of photo shoots. Um, and I when I got here, I haven't been the photographer. So being the autodidact that I am, and being like so many men, I justify so much of what I do in order to justify buying equipment. So the magazine was just a pretense. I wanted to buy a really good camera. Um, um, and so I have a great Hasselblad. But what I learned is that when after people talk to you, really talk to you, they're not gussied up, they're vulnerable, they're open, and most importantly, they trust you. So when I learned from these fancy photographers, they had the best equipment. We've already gone over that point. But two, they take a lot of pictures. They take so many pictures that the person who's being photographed is about ready to like, would you please leave? And so I take a lot of photographs, and you don't know what you have until you see it, until you put it on. But thank you for saying that. It's very meaningful. When I announced that I was going to be taking a lot of the photographs, at least some of the photographs, I got oh yeah, you're going to do that too, and I said yes, I'm going to do that too. But having said that, we want to make the magazine a home for some of the best photographers around, and we do that. So increasingly. And respectfully, we're assigning some of the star photographers that we know of and some that we don't, to take the pictures. And I think it's opening up the magazine, and I'm learning a lot. And I think we're seeing people's faces and portraits through the lens, the aperture, if you will, of a variety of really talented photographers that we're lucky to have.
and there's so much talent here, isn't there? I mean, it's just it's shocking.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It's shocking. Shocking.
yeah. Well,